Today we're going to be talking about conservation, which is one of the parts of my life that I've really enjoyed. When I say probably the most, I think I'm understating that. And the journey really began with my upbringing in Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, and then the latter part of my life when I met this incredible gentleman called Dr. Ian Player. And that part and what he did for me and who he introduced to me will always be remembered for the rest of my life. And I just wish that Ian was alive today to see how much his legacy has meant to me.
The spirit of the animal has come back into the land. And thank the great God.
And then during the journey of what we're doing, I've realized that in life is that perhaps not enough is being done for our communities. So together with a great friend of mine who I met many years ago, also brought up in Bulawayo, a gentleman called Graham Boyington, him and I were having a dinner and we discussed creating an organization that was to be attached and to benefit communities in conservation. And then when I explained to him the journey that we are busy with Accor and how I thought that they, with their worldwide footprint, could really make something that we could all be proud of and certainly make a considerable difference to the people that matter in my life and that are going to make a difference, and that's the communities.
I think education is absolutely key, and that's where I think Mantis and Accor Hotels can support the efforts on an ongoing basis to raise awareness through the channels we have, through the guests that we have, and to help the team on the grounds save the rhino.
So we debated it at many lengths, and then we came and we formed the Community Conservation Fund Africa, which was announced when I did my partnership with Accor, and we then started that journey. And what you and I decided in those very early days, that we weren't going to implement, that we were going to involve 3 organizations to implement projects with the funds that we raised. And that was then we decided that it would be the Wilderness Foundation Africa, Tusk Trust, and African Parks. And those 3 organizations over those last 2 years have benefited from the funds that we have raised and the projects that they have implemented on our behalf, which they submitted to us, to our board. Now, none of this could happen if we didn't have what I would like to think is probably the most important person in the organization, and that's our Executive Director, Di Liddon. And Di, who came to an interview to me and to Andrew, really knew very little about conservation. And funny enough, most of the best conservationists in this world have come from little knowledge but are exceptionally passionate, and I've seen that their lives change very quickly. And I've noticed with Di, her life has changed. She's totally committed to what we are doing, to raising funds. She doesn't leave me alone for 1 minute. Without her, we would not be implementing what we're doing. So the journey with the Community Conservation Fund is very important to me in my life and the last part of it, and to make a difference. And we can only make this difference if we can raise significant funding. And I will remember that I was asked on an interview not last week, if I had a Twitter following, what would I do with it?
If you had a Twitter following of 120 million people, which I think is the largest by Lady Gaga, what would you say? What would your tweet message be to the world right now?
Please give me $1 each towards our conservation fund, and I'll show you the difference we can make. Take that money and make a difference. I promise you, I'll show you the difference that we've made. And all of those that contribute, I'll give you a considerable discount. Come and visit us and see the difference you've helped us make. We would be able to make a very significant difference to what we stand for, and that's embracing the communities and the people who are involved in wildlife to share what they do with the communities. So please, everybody that's watching this, please support Di, support the Community Conservation Fund. It's a Mantis project that we want to take to the next level. And Mantis, as we all know, is being built around conservation, and it stands from the praying mantis, but it stands for man and nature together is sustainable. So what I would like to really conclude with is to say we will make conservation happen, and we'll make it happen through the communities, and it'll be because of the initiative of Mantis and Accor. Thank you for watching and being part of the journey.
So welcome everyone, I'm Di Luden, and as Adrian mentioned, I'm heading up the Community Conservation Fund Africa. Adrian was very, very kind in his introduction to me, but he was very accurate. I moved to Port Elizabeth 2 years ago, met with Adrian, was looking for a job, and he said he's got this wonderful conservation fund that he thinks would be great for me to get involved in. And I said to him, well, I know absolutely nothing about conservation, but let's give it a go. And I really can't thank Adrian enough for what he's done for me. He's just an incredible, incredible human being. So CCFA is really about working with local communities to preserve conservation. And when we talk about conservation, we don't only mean the rhino. We mean wilderness areas, we mean bees, we mean the rhino as well, of course, but we really are here to uplift, empower, educate local communities so that we can preserve our conservation. As Adrian mentioned, we work with 3 other NGOs who implement for us. Where we would like to see ourselves grow is that in every single Mantis property, when guests come to the property, they are able to see one of our projects that we are working with. So whether it be a really small bee project, which is a community development project for the local people that work on that property, or whether it be the gorillas in Uganda, a borehole when you go to Namibia. It's all about really what our guests can see when they visit the properties and how they can get involved. Because I think the one thing that makes CCFA unique is that we really are here to raise our money through the tourism industry. Tourists come to Africa because of our animals, and therefore we need to protect that. It's our greatest asset, in Adrian's words. And so we really do want our tourists to come to the hotels to see the work that we are doing and to be inspired by the CCFA. To give you a small example of some of the projects that we do, with Wilderness Foundation Africa, we have put 40 students through their Sears and Zela life skills and employability training. And these students literally come from the outskirts of the Addo Elephant Park, which is really close by to the Mantis head office. And the journeys that these young children go through is something that is so inspirational. They don't have a CV, they don't have a bank account, they have no one to really guide them into how to get a job. And the training that Wilderness Foundation Africa does for these students, people go from being not even knowing how to attempt at finding a job to being employed. And that's something that is really incredible. And we've taken it a step further where we are putting the students through the Ulavani field guide training. So not only do they learn how to make themselves employable, they also become employable as field guides. And our goal is to really see this increase within women as well, because we would really like to see young women field guides. So watch this space. With Tusk Trust, we do a lot of various projects throughout Africa, and this involves working with gorilla conservation through public health in Uganda. We also do a lot of human-elephant conflict projects with them, and it's all just various projects where we can empower people to make a difference in conservation. And with African Parks, we piloted a project with them, which was in Akigera National Park. And this was just outside where Mantis manages a hotel, the Akigera Game Lodge. And there was a community living there, 120 people. They didn't have a stable dietary source every day. And so this project was really to take a lake that had been there forever, put fish into the lake, and let the families receive a meal from there once a day. And we can now say that those families, all 120 of them, are receiving 1 meal per day. And the goal is now that the fish will start to reproduce, and the excess fish will get sold back to the various hotel properties in the area. We have some very cool projects in the pipeline, greening the community based here in South Africa. Our bee projects, we really are looking for community development bee projects. My colleague Tanya and I are just trying to really grow our brand as much as we can with the help of Mantis and Accor. So thank you very much for listening to us, and please do head on to our website to have a look at what we do, as well as follow us on social media.